So very briefly, I wanted to talk about my experience with gabapentin. I had been on it before, but then and for a very long time on a high dose, 2,700 milligrams a day, I think, for 6 months, which is a very long time. I came off it, no problems, whatever. But this time I had developed akathisia. Now, what is that? I'm not going to give you the definition from a dictionary or anything like that or whatever. My experience is that it's a sense of intense restlessness, right? You have to get up and do something. Like your body, like, and then once you're up, it wants to sometimes like go right immediately right back down. And then once you're down, it wants to go back up. So imagine that: down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. It's exhausting, right? And then you have to pace. You're pacing. You're pacing. You're pacing. You're pacing. And then sometimes again, you have these movement problems where you're almost convulsing. Like I was in the ER yesterday, and I was basically convulsing in like the fucking ER bed, and like I thought I was having a seizure. So, but like it wasn't a seizure. It was just my body was so stressed out, and like it had to like grip onto something and move something, and I had to like squeeze something, and so I almost ripped the guardrails off the fucking bed. And I think um, I think it's from my abrupt stoppage of taking gabapentin a couple weeks ago. So about I want to say 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, I stopped taking gabapentin because I was only taking it for 4 weeks, mind you, and I was taking it for my neck because I was having some neck issues, and they said, "Okay, well, let's try this," and I was like, "Okay," because I'd been on it before, and I was like, "So maybe the safety profile is okay for me," but I came off of it, and a couple of days later, I did notice some issue because I remember distinctly writing it down. I was like, I'm having this intense anxiety and stuff like that, and it's in my journal. And I'm feeling like sad and from out of nowhere and whatever, and it's just like, and it's just, and it comes on so strong, and then I'm all of a sudden I'm feeling like really I have to move, like my body and my limbs have to move, but like just like ever so slightly, right? And then as the days gone, and I get a few days where I don't notice it or it's not as bad, but then all of a sudden it's coming on much stronger, and now it's coming in waves, like it's coming on throughout the day, and I'm thinking this is probably Parkinson's or MS or dementia, even because it's affecting my how I think too, right? All of a sudden I'm just forgetting words, and I'm misspelling things, and I'm writing my blog, and I cannot get through it. I know what to write, and I'm misspelling everything, and I have to go back, and it took me it usually takes me like a week or two to write my blog. It took me like a month this time. I wasn't distracted or anything. It was just this thing, and then yesterday it reached its like peak. I went to the urgent care first because that was our plan in the morning. I was going to urgent care, see if they can give me anything, right? Because other people in my family have had this before, they didn't really know what it was. My grandmother had it in the 80s when her husband died. My grandfather. They gave her Paxil, I think, or something like that, and when they took her off of it, she started developing tremors, and basically she developed akathisia, right? And so they thought that she had Parkinson's because she was in her 60s, and so she met the criteria. She met the age demographic for it, etc. Her feet were shuffling, she couldn't stop moving, and stuff like that. And yeah, so then it lasted for so long. She was in just utter agony every day. And I remember I saw her once like that. It was, anyways. But that's not what where this all came from. Where it all came from was I had to look it up online, and there was an abundance of evidence and papers even written on it that you can get withdrawal from gabapentin. I watched a video on it, all these testimonials of people who had it, and then I read a paper about a case study from the very first time it happened, and it all sounded just extremely familiar. You stop taking a drug, you start having all these disorders, and these movement disorders, and you start having all these neuropsychiatric problems, and then it all met the timeline, and so it all lined up, everything aligned there. And what's most terrifying about it, to be honest with you, is a couple of things. It's going through it, right? Experiencing it. It's not knowing how long it's going to last, and then it's the anticipation, of like, when's the next wave going to come? When's the next episode or flare up going to come? Because it's like getting a flare up of something, right? A little bit. That's what it feels like, but it's really, really, really intense. It's so overwhelming that Like yesterday, I just coming home yesterday, I was so exhausted. I took the pill. I was up for a couple hours, and I just zonked out at 8 or something like that at night. You know, I was so tired. But even when I was going to sleep, like something in me, I don't know if it's I've been traumatized by all this over the last couple of weeks, but like now it's tough for me to like fall asleep again. Not even partly because of this, but also partly because of like I'm expecting something bad to happen, and it's a really shitty thing because my ME for the most part is kind of under control, right? And so to have this other thing enter all of a sudden is really like disheartening because you don't know how. I just don't. You hear because on the extreme end of akathisia, trigger warning is that some people unalive themselves because of it because it's so draining and it's so fucking extreme at the level of you lose who you are. It's like watching someone come in and out of having dementia. I watched a video of a lady who had it so bad, and R.I.P. But she killed herself because of it. Because it was so bad. And I watched the video, and it was horrifying. And so I knew yesterday I had to go immediately to the ER and try to get this really fight for this thing and tomorrow, same thing. I'm going to make sure that, I already have a plan to taper off and they already gave me but I want to do it under real supervision and real professionals. So I may pay out of pocket for this thing to really get it done right, and also to increase my chances that this akathisia will go away. I feel okay. I feel relatively maybe optimistic that it's going to go away over time. Here's the thing. My sister also had withdrawal. I had to go through withdrawal she had a back surgery years ago, and then she got addicted to opiates like a lot of people did, and thankfully she's still alive, and she went through withdrawal as well, and that was kind of horrific watching that too. So it was all very familiar to everyone, but still, I think even she mentioned that when watching me go through it was fucking a nightmare for her, watching me go through some of the worst aspects of it, because she recognized like the rocking and like the sweating and stuff like that, but not like the convulsing and the shaking and the whole fucking like I can't stop moving and blah blah blah, blah. I literally could not stop. But hopefully it subsides and hopefully I get the help I need. But yeah, it was fucking awful, and I never want to go through that again. And so I don't even have any warnings for anyone, just only to make sure that your doctors always tell you what the drugs do. And if not, you have to do it on your own, unfortunately. I knew this was the potential, right? It's the same thing with the benzos. I took the benzos on the gamble that it would help with my ME and the quality of life. It did, I think. But maybe it's time to stop them. Maybe I've been on them too long, and I can manage my ME maybe okay without them. And if I need to go back on them, I'll go back on them. But like maybe I have to find out first if my ME can sustain itself without that drug at least, because that was what originally helped me cognitively, was were benzos, right? All of a sudden, the first time I took a benzo, all my symptoms went away from ME. I was like, this is great. This is awesome. So I was like, I'm never coming off this. And by the way, I still had crashes after that. But like the first time I took it, it felt everything went away, everything cleared. And I remember the first time I went into a crash and I took a benzo, by the way, a quarter of a pill. So a quarter of a 0.25 tablet pulled me right out of a crash once. So there's something to me taking it, of course. But now maybe I don't need it anymore. I don't know. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm feeling some of the symptoms right now of akathisia, but not so bad. Like I'm not like moving or anything like that or having the extreme agitation, but there's always like this little tiny little knot in your stomach that says something's not right. So hopefully it'll right itself in a couple of weeks or months even. But if I was assured that it was going to go away in a year, I would be fine with that. That's the scariest thing is just not knowing. All right, that's it.